Good afternoon to everyone. Welcome once again, all the listeners here. Again, this will be a Chronicles episode also. So we're currently recording their live, and again, kudos to all of you who came forward, expressed your thoughts. I know it takes a lot of courage. So when we were planning this iteration of Unconference, that's Unconference Summer Session 2023, we thought, okay, let's make it a little more special. We have a lot of alumni who have a lot of valuable experience to share. So we thought, why not create a platform wherein they're able to share their experience with us, and we're also able to interact with them. So without further ado, let us first invite our first guest. I invite Sukumar sir to share a few experiences.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, so I'll just touch up on what we are talking there. So just now, I am 61 years. So my mental health is a natural, degradation, not connected to social media. Okay, so that's how I am 79 to 84, last of the 5-year engineering batches from mechanical engineering. So I was always so. You know that on that, since it is 5-year batches, the two batches came out together. That is the 4 years batch later on and our 5-year batch. So every other person we met in the KR circle was engineer that year. So there was a lot of this thing to where to go. We didn't have any this social media influences to get which job and all those problems. So it is always by word of mouth. Somebody will say there is opening in BHEL, everybody started applying for BHEL. Everybody says HAL, something of that sort. The what you call IT and BT were yet to come. So luckily for me, in the third year, the Indian Navy came for what you call campus selection. So few of the people, wanted to find out how exactly you get into the Navy. We went to that classroom allotted. So selection was nothing to do with anything written test or something. How many came? Just write your name and you are selected. That was the selection line. So as you know, Navy doesn't select you directly that way. There is something known as a separate selection process happens later on. So this is how we thought that yes, the one thing good about is a stipend used to be paid after that. That was the good thing about it. So that's how we went to the Navy. He said, what exactly, I will just don't go through my story or something. What exactly I did in my life, which somebody, you can think that it is good for you, you can adopt or something. It is go the less trodden path. That is where you will enjoy your life. Don't go, everybody is going to IT or something. That is not the way life should be. Find out something, very few people. Even in my engineering, this thing, last year used to have something known as the electives. In mechanical, there used to be 3 electives: thermal, production, and design. Okay, we were 110 in our batch. So 50 of them went for production, 50 went for thermal. Okay, then I thought, why everybody is going there? What is so difficult about design or something? So I went for the design just because there are a few of them selecting, and I just wanted to find out why can't I do the design? They found that it is difficult. Dr. Chaudhaya was head of the department those days. So he was supposed to be terror or something. So nobody wanted to go to that, this thing. So that is what, I wanted to go to that less trodden path. I enjoyed my, this thing, that last year in the design. So then I joined the Navy. And after that, there's a selection came that what you want to be specialized in. So the less trodden was the submarine batch or submarines, specialization, because it is tough. Everybody has this thing that Navy is white uniform and all those things. A submariner, that is the last time he sees a white uniform. Okay, because I tell everybody, if it is 45 days tenure when you sail in a submarine, before you come back to the shore, you don't take bath for the 45 days. Okay, because water is precious. It is meant only for drinking purposes or your diesel cooling system. All these are priorities. Your bath is the last priority. So that is how the life in a submarine is. So I enjoyed it because I chose to take a career or the specialization which very few people take. I enjoyed it. And the third is I specialized in nuclear submarine because reactors, everybody at those days, it was like There could be radiation leaks. Why do you want to go to the nuclear reactor operated submarines and all that? I wanted to find out what is so difficult about it. What can happen to me or something. That's how I look at life always. Go that, find out what is so difficult about a certain things, adopt that in your life, and you will enjoy your life. Money, these things are all, it's all byproducts of your life journey. Enjoying your life should be the way you should be, taking out the career path or the job path, everything. In our batch, we had one Mr. Shastri. After his engineering, he took a break for 3 years. He went for a spiritual this thing. He was an electrical guy. He enjoyed, he wanted to experiment with this spiritual path. After that, he came back to the mainstream and did good thing in his life. So anything you want to do, try that. Experiment with that. And always take guidance from your seniors or your parents or your, family seniors and all that. They are there to guide you and enjoy your life otherwise. Thank you very much.
Anyone has any questions for Sukumar sir? No questions whatsoever?
So, like inside the submarine, I visited this thing, INS Kursara in Visakhapatnam. So, what do you say, the environment inside is like, it's really stressful. Like the moment you even go there as a visitor, it's like extremely stressful. So, they're like 45 days there, stuck with the same people and in the same environment. And I'm sure you would be doing like a specific task, without external contact. So, how does that affect you
I
mentally?
didn't scare you because in a nuclear submarine it is not 45 days, okay? Because it is a human endurance, not the machine endurance. The nuclear submarine doesn't need to refill anything, it can go on because we can split water and through this power entirely available with you. So it is claustrophobic for those who are into that. But we undergo 6 months of training in Visakhapatnam. So there is a submarine training school. So we spend most of our time inside the torpedo tubes. Inside the torpedo tubes. It is only one person can crawl through. Okay. So the training sometimes whole day you are inside that torpedo tube. Okay. The escape from a submarine, if God forbid it has to, cannot surface or something, your escape is through the torpedo tubes. Okay, you have to go through, 3 person can get into the torpedo tube, the inside door gets shut, the water is let into that, and then it is pressurized to the water pressure, column pressure, what is available. Then the outside door is opened, you go out and surface. So that is how it happens. It's simple, don't worry. Because it is your precious life, you will go through that. There is nothing, something great about it. But you have to acclimatize yourself. That is how the life is. And since everything has to be compacted to carry the maximum endurance of that vessel, so everything has to be compacted. It is, if you have, 60 is your complement. That is men inside that submarine. Now, women has yet to come to the submarines. Okay, it is men only. So it is 1/3 of them having the bunks. That is, bunks is a sense bed, what you call otherwise. So otherwise, it is in submarine it is called hot bunking. That is, it is always hot because one or the other guy will be sleeping in that bunk. So 2/3 of the complement will be working always, 1/3 is sleeping. So that is how the life is. And it is mainly into what is called teamwork. Because the one person's mistake will cost everybody's life. So it is a trust and the teamwork. That is what the finally is all about the submarine arm. And best part is you get additional salary for all these things. There is a submarine pay which is much above than the normal naval, salary part. So, but it is the life is once you are into that you will enjoy it. As I said. Thank you. I hope I answered.
Anyone else has a question? Okay. Sir, I had a question. You spend months at a time on a submarine. I'm sure you may have missed your family during that time. So how do you cope with that?
Yeah. Mainly you miss your family not because they are away or something. You are missed because the safety of your family. But in Navy or the Defense Force as such, we have a beautiful system of looking after the people who are ashore when somebody else is sailing. So if my course mate is there, he's not sailing at that time, he will look after your family, and you do vice versa when somebody is there. Somebody is there to look after your family, so you don't have to worry about why you are away and somebody is there. Some emergencies, how exactly it is looked after, and people are there. There are bachelors who remain bachelor throughout their Navy tenure. So it is the same thing. It doesn't make any difference. You are married, not married, and all that. So somebody is there to look after your family. I think that is how you see life is,
Yeah.
isn't it?
So I just had an additional question. There are a lot of youngsters here. So how do they join, say, the armed forces?
Since you have taken up a course already as an engineer, so for you it is only the direct entry is left to you, which is usually comes in your social medias or the normal print media and all that. When exactly you join and all those things, it's become a direct entry. There are both schemes available: short service, which is 10 years now, or a permanent commission, 20 years plus. So there is a scope available for you to join these things. I advise everybody to give it a try. It makes a man and woman out of you. Okay, definitely it will change your life. That's why I said go for that change always. And the value system, it puts you within you. You don't get anywhere so easily. I'm not saying that you don't get anywhere. This gets imbibed in you. The initial naval academy, once you join the navy, the 6 months of naval academy, what you said, this is session, what is it called?
The unconference summer session.
Unconferencing, what you call. That is what they do when you join the naval academy. They make you forget whatever you have learned so far. They make you forget about it. It is not required at all, because after that you go to the marine engineering school, which is in Lonavala and Shivaji. They will teach you what is required out of you as an engineer. That 6 months, it will totally make you to become that team player in that navy. Okay, so lot of things you go with a lot of your own ideas and those things. They make you forget everything. Okay. Inside the Naval Academy, there is nothing on walking. Either you will be crawling or you will be running always. Okay. So that is how you may be saying, I'm an engineer and I have so much of air with me and all that. You forget everything. So you become totally immune to a lot of things in your life. As I said, night time, in the parade ground and all that things, there is nothing as a human clearing. Supposing it rained in the previous evening, they want it dry the next day. They don't use anybody as like machines to dry up this thing. They make you roll over. Once you reach the other end, you take your banyan out, squeeze it out, and start once again. So by the morning, it is clear. So then you do the parade in the next day. So that's how you do the normal course. Otherwise, you think you can do in lot of other ideas. But Navy or the Defense Forces have their own set ideas to do these things. The maximum time is throughout my life.
You spend 6 months at a time once you go. Like, what's the maximum days you spend?
Once I was in the nuclear submarine, I said it was 6 months I traveled underwater. I remained underwater.
Does that affect your mental health in any way? Being away, like being with the same set of people for 6 months?
My present mental health is mainly because of the age, nothing to do with my career, nothing. Okay. Yeah.
So, sir, you said that we should aim to try not to follow a path that is already trodden, but nowadays not much trodden.
Yeah.
But these days, at least to me, it feels like anything that I try to think of, it's already been done.
Okay, you experience in a different way. It is not that way. I said not go by the least trodden in the sense you experience it yourself. That's what I meant.
Just that it seems like everything I do seeing as it's already done, I feel like there is not much of my own contribution going on. It feels like I've copied someone. Again, I learn a lot by copying from a lot of people. So
But it is not so. It is everything is the knowledge is what the information what you gather is knowledge. So it is how you gather this knowledge, how you make use of that knowledge is what matters. So
so it feels more like it's rather than you being the writer, you are being the book, accumulating from places.
right and wrong is all subjective, debatable, and all those things. So it is always being said if it is does good to somebody, it's the right thing to do. That is, I don't want to be spiritual or something here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sukumar sir. Let's give sir a big round of applause. So our next speaker for the Experience Library will be Miss Vidhya Pai, who's joining us. She'll be sharing her experience.
Okay. Hi everyone, this is Vidya here. I work as a software developer for SAP Labs. I'm a graduate of 2015 batch of information science, and I don't come to college very often, but it was very nice to see you doing things because when we were your age or whatever, not too long ago, but still pretty long ago considering that it's already been 8 years since we passed out. It's very nice that we wanted to do these kind of things, and I have personally been a part of Barcamp Bangalore, which is an Unconference, and Human Library itself, which is a global organization. And I think you're headed out on a right path and doing a lot of good things. And I also see a lot of stuff on the internet. So kudos to all of you who are organizing these things. So yeah, to begin with my story, this is not a part of my professional life or something. So it's a hobby that I discovered, while it started, the liking for it started when I was in the college, but eventually over the last few years, that has grown. So that is, I'm going to talk about trekking, high altitude trekking. And, when I started off, it was a small trek, which I started, with my classmates. All of us decided to one day go to Shivagange, which is, I don't know if you've heard of it, nearby hill. So when I went to Shivgange, it was like, I'm never going to do this again again in my life. It was so exhausting, and going with a group of 40 people was really, really exhausting. But then some of my seniors tracked me another trek a few years later, and that trek actually was like life changing for me. I struggled. I was almost dead by the time the trek was over. But that somehow made me feel that, hey, I like this. The feeling, the high that you get, when you're exhausted, when you're beaten up, and the satisfaction that you get when you're down. That is something that I wanted more of it, and that is why I was like, okay, fine, let's do some of these things. Let's start some of small treks and see where I end up. And also not to like, okay, fine. I was really fat by the time I was, in my final year. And after I got a job, I was like, yeah, this is life, just go, you're earning something, you're eating, and, you're just putting on weight and stuff. There's no physical activity and those kind of things. But that is where I also remembered that, there are treks that I wanted to do and stuff like that. And my seniors from, the time when I was in college, they were all into trekking. Many of them were into trekking, and they invited me. And I was like, okay, let's we can just try this out. And so that's how I started it. And in 2016, I did my first high altitude trek. And yeah, I've done a lot of treks till date, and there are a lot of experiences that I've taken from there and that have changed me as a person. So there's one such incident which was from 2019, and that is what I want to share with you. And you might not be able to resonate with the experience as such, but I think the takeaway or the message that I want to, impart or give away, that is what will be the highlight of the story. So yeah, so 2019, I decided to do this trek in Ladakh. It is called Stoke Kangri. It is one of the highest peaks in the Stoke Ranges. So Stoke Kangri stands at an altitude of 20,000 feet. And okay, to give you a little bit of reference, Everest it's at 29,000 feet. So Everest is the highest peak of the world, and Stoke Kangri is at 20,000 feet. Obviously, it's not as difficult as Everest and stuff because those are like bigger expeditions. You do that over like months and stuff. And Stoke was planned to be like, I think, a 8-day trek. And it was a climb. It was not a trek. So there's a difference. Okay, climb involves a technical, expertise and stuff like that, and I had none of it. I just had 5 other high altitude treks before that. That was, I think, my 5th one. But anyway, I had been exposed to high altitude before, and I had prepared really well for it. Like, you prepare for endurance workouts, like you run a lot, you need to have higher stamina, higher lung capacity, and stuff like that. Also, to give you some more trivia about it, anything above 8,000 feet is considered as high altitude by the Indian Mountaineering Federation. Okay, so anything above 8,000. Bangalore is at, I think, 3,000 feet or something, approximately. Okay, so 8,000, and Stoke is at 20,000. So you get the picture in your head. Uh, yeah. So what happens at high altitude? At normal sea level, when you're breathing in, okay, you're getting in enough oxygen and stuff like that, everything is good. But what happens above 8,000 feet is the atmospheric pressure reduces, so the oxygen molecules are more scattered. Okay, as a result, when you breathe in normally, you don't get in enough oxygen. Is that clear? I mean, this concept needs to be clear for you to understand what happened in my story. Okay, so yeah, so the oxygen molecules are more scattered, and the higher you go, like let's say you're going above 11,000, 12,000, 20, the oxygen is very less, so the air is called thin air. Okay, so how your body adjusts to it? Your body is really mysterious and a really amazing machine. Your body adjusts to it by breathing faster, so you can get in the enough oxygen in that much breath that you would normally get at sea level. Okay, so this process where your body starts breathing in faster on its own when it sees a change in altitude, this is called acclimatization. Okay, this is a natural process, but what happens when your body is not able to acclimatize is your oxygen molecules, you're not getting in enough oxygen when you're breathing it. So naturally, all organs or all the functions in your body needs oxygen to work, and when it's not getting enough oxygen, you naturally end up in problems. Okay, so there are 3 common, problems that, I would not say problems, but 3 common things you need to be aware of when you are into these kind of sports. Okay, because your life is at risk here. So first thing is called the acute mountain sickness, which is AMS, which is a normal thing. So the signs are all headache and nausea. Your body is not getting enough oxygen, and you feel that. Okay, you feel like you're not able to make sense and stuff like that. The second level is called HAPE. It is high altitude pulmonary edema, which is when your lung starts drowning in its own fluid. So that's the second level of AMS. So it starts with AMS, then goes to HAPE. And the last level is called HACE, which is high altitude cerebral edema, where your brain is drowning, and that's the time you've almost lost the game. Okay, and the solution for all of these is all problems one solution is to descend down to a place where you are able to breathe in normally, or where you're able to get enough oxygen for everything to start functioning back. So coming back to Stoke in 2019. So the trek is basically, it's a 7-8 day trek. So first 3 days you're climbing through the cities, you're gaining altitude slowly and slowly, and then you start from the base camp. Okay, there's this thing called base camp. That is where you start the summit climb. Okay, so 3 days you spend before that to reach the base camp. So the base camp is at 16,000 feet. Okay, and in so far in all my previous treks, the highest altitude I'd ever reached was 16,000, and I'd never stayed at that high altitude. I'd just gone to that altitude and come back down. So for me, this was a first experience of staying in that high of an altitude of 16,000 feet. So so this was 14th of August. We had a great plan of submitting on Independence Day that Bharat ka jhanda will all put it on top of Stoke and stuff. So we were all prepared, and we were a group of 6 people, including our trek leader. Yeah, so 6 or 7 people. And till the base camp, everyone was doing great. Everyone is in great health, and mostly because obviously your heart rates are all high, your oxygen is a little low, but all of that is normal at that altitude. So 14th was a rest day for us. So we had reached base camp on 13th. 14th was a rest day, and what we were to do on rest days, so we have this snow boots. Okay, so they are okay. Another thing is snow. So there is all knee deep, or higher than knee deep level of snow. So we wear these things called scarpas, which are basically from your ankle till here. And the thing is, you can't bend your knees like that. Okay, so when you're walking, you're like supposed to do a penguin walk, or So not many of us are used to that, because we naturally like tend to bend our knees while walking, right? So we had to train with those. So all of us had to train with the snow boots. We had a harness on. okay, and we were roped to each other. So we had to train at base camp to be able to do the same thing, to be able to put up the same show when we tried for the summit. Okay, now 14th was a really bad day in terms of weather because right from the time we woke up, it was raining and it never stopped. But then we had to get out because we were like 15th. So we had one extra buffer day in case we would not be able to go to the top on 15th. We had one extra day that we'll keep and we will try again on 15th night to be able to reach there on 16th or something. So we're like, okay, anyways, we have a buffer, so let's give this a shot. So we in the evening around like 4 or 5 or something for an hour or hour and a half the rains and all like reduced. It didn't stop, but it reduced. And we're like, okay, like let's go out and let's get used to all these boots and stuff like that. And the first time I put those boots, it was like really uncomfortable. But we did a climb from 16,000, we went up to like 17,000 or something, and we were roped. So 6 people, so three were roped in 2 batches. First 3 were roped together, and the next 3 were roped together. So we went to the top and stuff like that. And already like I'd hurt my this thing because the Scarpa top was cutting through my knees basically, and yeah, it's really painful. But I was like, okay, fine. It's not like you're like, okay, once I'm done with this, you're free, and you have that satisfaction and stuff. Everything was okay. So we did this thing. We did this twice, and we got back, and it started raining again. So we got back. The plan was we leave the campsite at 10:30 in the night. So Stoke is one of the most popular summit ascents. Okay, when I say that, it is very popular for its bad summit or the technical summit climb. So a lot of people who go on bigger treks like Everest or Annapurna, whatever, they try to train on these, 7,000, 6,000 meter mountains. So 10:30 we were supposed to get out, and the planned summit time was around 8 in the morning. So you're trekking through all of that. 8 you reach the summit, and then you're back to base camp. Okay, so again, to give you a picture, like for you to picturize, so from the base camp, it's a steep climb. Okay, and then you're going through routes where on both sides, if you miss a step, you're dead. Okay, so you are on such paths, and you're again, like, let me remind you, it's like 10:30, 11:30 in the night. Okay, so there is this one place called advanced base camp. So from the base camp at about so 16,000 something was the base camp. At about 17.2 something was the advanced base camp. So at advanced base camp, we thought we will wear all the harness, wear all the snow boots, and get ready for the summit. So from the advanced base camp, the Stoke Glacier starts. Okay, so the glacier starts, and that's mostly a flat walk. Again, with steep valleys down. So you at the end of the glacier is where you can see the entire peak from the base. Okay, so the flat walk and then the peak. Again, in the peak there are a couple of sections. So first is a proper ascent. It's a proper steep ascent, and you stop at this point called the Stoke Shoulder. Okay, so the mountain is again like shoulder and then the peak. Okay, so from the shoulder there's a continuous ascent to the peak and back. So we were all good in terms of theory. We knew, okay, the plan, what was it, and stuff like that. Now things didn't go according to plan, even before we started. So 10:30 was the plan, and we're like, okay, good, 9 o'clock we'll have dinner, or 8:30, whatever. We'll have dinner and stuff like that. So we had dinner. None of us at that altitude, your appetite is also like really low, so you're like stuffing your face just so you don't end up hungry while you're doing the big thing. So we started, and we finished the dinner and all these things. And there was this one guy from a group who did not come for the dinner. And all of us finished dinner. We went out. He's in his tent. He's like, he's not able to breathe and stuff like that. That was the first thing which affected us mentally. Apparently, his oxygen was around 40s or 50s or whatever, which is way too low. Okay. So whenever you're at that high altitude, or any high altitude campsite for that matter, we carry oxygen tanks. So the group, whatever we go with, right, they make sure that there is oxygen cylinder in every campsite that you're in. So so oxygen cylinder, we had to take it out because this guy needed oxygen, and my trek leader did not want to risk, leaving him behind and us going to the summit or whatever. And he also was very apprehensive about sending him down with a guide or with a local person, because it was already like 10:30 or something, and a lot of bad things have happened before when people have been left on their own. They have obviously been found dead, or even while getting down, whatever risk is associated with all that. So my trek leader was like, okay, I'll take him down myself. And there was another guy who was a trained mountaineer in our batch. So he assigned all the trek leader duties to him. And we had two local guides. So basically, there were three of them who were equipped to actually try for the summit. And the trek leader himself had to go down with this guy because he had to be evacuated from the campsite. First thing is that all of us are new to this altitude, and all of us, it was a big, first big, high altitude trek, and it was mentally affecting. But we understood that he had to be evacuated, and we could not risk him. So he was given a shot of dexamethasone, which is like it gives you a sudden boost, it gives you a sudden adrenaline, it gives you enough energy to descend down to a campsite, and then you're sorted once you're getting enough oxygen. So first he was evacuated and all that happened, and then the weather again got bad. Now it started to hail and stuff. But every other group that had come, that had reached the campsite then, decided to go for the summit because I think they were also on a time crunch or whatever they had to. So even everyone started like, okay, like we are going to attempt the summit no matter what. So even we were like, okay, fine. Other people are also attempting. So let us also like give it a shot. And if anything happens, like we'll start descending. So we started slowly. Every one of us had a headlamp and stuff. We were wearing the harness. We just did not have the snow boots on. We were all carrying just 1 liter of hot water, and I think half liter of some normal water because water is also very cold there. So we were carrying hot water, and we started it. We didn't have anything else. Like my trek leader strictly told me no cameras because weight and all that stuff. So just basic thing, whatever you need, little bit of food, a little bit of water, and all the medicines, of course. So it was smooth until 18,000 feet. So this is a little, not 18,000, okay, 17.2, like the advanced base camp point, what I said you. So until advanced base camp, everyone is doing good so far. And we are still going with that same 3 groups, batches of 2 groups. At advanced base camp, we had to wear our scarpas, which are the snow boots. And the moment everyone started wearing it, even bending takes like a lot of effort. Like, you're just bending to take off your shoes or socks also, like I am out of breath. So that is when like I started getting headache. First slight bit of headache, which is very common again at that altitude. Even if you're dehydrated, you get like small headaches and stuff. So what happened after advanced camp is, okay, everyone was ready and we decided to like go for it, and we started pushing. Now my the pseudo trek leader, whatever who was assigned the trek leader, he was a little behind with the 2 groups, and we could see a batch of I think French people or something. They were almost at the shoulder, and we thought since we can see them that at that distance, we thought okay, it's not that bad. Maybe we can try pushing further, which was the second bad decision that we made. Okay, so we started from there, advanced base camp, and I was ahead with like a group of 3. Till then, I was doing excellent. One of the guys even told me, madam, you will only summit. Okay, and I was like, okay, fine, good. So that's good. So I was actually in a very good state and whatever. But I had advanced base camp, slight headache, and I even informed my trek leader that I'm getting slight headache, and he was like, so what happens if your headache gets bad? You're going down. He told. I was like, okay, fine. And then I kept going from there. Stowe Glacier starts, and at the end of Stowe Glacier, the headache was no longer a headache. It was as though someone is holding a hammer and pounding onto my head, and it's like you're holding your head and tearing it apart. Okay, it was that bad, and that's when I started getting everything in flashes. Things are not like happening in one. I'm seeing that something is happening, but I'm not able to make sense of what is happening. And everything is going on in flashes. And then I waited for my trek leader to come, and my the 2 other people who were with me decided to wait also along with me because that was the end of glacier, and that is where we also had to wear our crampons, which are basically the sharp, pointy ends to be able to to help you on snow. So I waited for him to come, and I told him this is happening, and I was also feeling like throwing up. I tried to throw up, nothing happened, but the flashes actually concerned me quite a lot. So he told me, you're going down, but since we were already on a resource crunch, we already didn't have trek leader and stuff, so assigning a guide for me was even more difficult, but one of them volunteered, luckily. The main guy who had actually done that peak once, he volunteered to send me down and then come back up again. Okay, and at this point of time, it was almost 2:30 in the midnight. 10:30 we have started. We have been trekking continuously for whatever long time, and 2:30 or something is when I started feeling I was the first wicket down of the team. Okay, and I started descending back, and that guy, the guy who was along with me, He didn't have a headlamp. He didn't have a trekking pole. He had nothing. He's a Nepali guy, so they are all used to these kind of things. This is nothing for them. For us, it's a big deal, right? So he's like going through some parts, and I'm just blindly following, because at this point my only concern is to get to the campsite. So somehow, managed to, like, whatever state I was in, I managed to get down, and at the campsite it was 4:30 or something when I reached 4:15 or something when I reached the campsite, 4:15 in the morning, and he was planning to go back up again. Now at the campsite, my heart rate is like super high. Okay, my heart rate is super high. I'm still not able to make sense of what is happening, but I am aware that my trek leader is not there. There is no oxygen cylinder. There is no one in the camp, except there were two kitchen guides. There were kitchen staff who were there, who were already sleeping or something. And I also told him that, I'm really scared. There's no oxygen cylinder, stuff like that. And he's like, no, don't worry. You just go sleep and stuff like that. I went to the campsite. I went to my tent. I opened it, and there's like, I didn't see anything. Entire thing is drenched. I just took off my raincoat and I put it in my this thing. And at that point, I was not sure if I was gonna make it. Okay. Luckily for all of you, the story ends in a good way because I'm here telling it to you. But I was dead sure that I am not gonna wake up the next day. And for me, whenever I go on a trek or something, before that, I over research. I read so many stories, and unfortunately, all the bad ones. So there are these stories where people who are in an extremely fatigued state, they do not sleep. Okay, because if they sleep, they, like, there are incidents where people are passed away in their sleep. So I was trying so hard to keep myself awake, and obviously, like, I was not in network for 5 days. And that one time, I really wanted, like, to be able to talk to my mom. At that point, I was like, I just want to make that one call, because I was not sure what is going to happen the next day. And I was so sure I am not going to wake up. I had already accepted that fact that, tomorrow is not going to happen. If that one call. So I could not do anything, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if I passed out or whatever. I have no memories of whatever happened. For the next 45 minutes or so, the next memory is someone unzipping my tent and, checking, are you fine? Like, he woke me up, and then I see the entire group is down. Okay, all of them. And I was like, what are you guys doing here? And apparently the weather got really bad after I came down. And around half an hour, 45 minutes later, they also had to come down. So no one made it to the summit that day. And so this is kind of the story, but the message, so that point, it was just that, everything was taken for granted. I am like, everything, it's all sorted that I'm going to come back fine. And I'm going to, be able to, some of my friends are planning to come back to Ladakh, and we are planning a trip after that. So, that I'm going to see these people, I'm going to meet my mom, I'm going to talk to my mom, talk about the summit. None of these happened. And that was like a hard realization that time, that, that one, when you're near death or whatever, when you're like in that thought that you're not going to wake up tomorrow, the things that come to you, and you wish that I had just spoken to this person. I wish I had told something here. I wish I had appreciated this a little more. I think that was a big realization. To finish the story, what happened on 16th, so the next day, 15th, basically we didn't summit, none of them submitted. The 16th, 16th was next summit date. So trek leader comes and he's like, okay, I'm going to take just 3 of you or whatever who have good pay. So he also chose me. I'm going to make a second attempt with just 2 or 3 people. So would you be interested? And like a dumb person, I was like, yeah, I'll be interested. Like, come kill me again. So, but second time I had taken this. So there's this preventive course called DIMOX. Okay, so which is it helps you acclimatize faster. It does not work once you have already, once you have already got AMS, it does not help. It's mostly taken as a preventive course. You started at lower altitude and then you finish it at the same place. So the DIMOX did not help. I did take it, but I ended up having a lot of stomach issues and stuff like that. So next day, again, 10:30, we started off, 4 of us, and, with all the snow boots and stuff, we started off. 17,000, same headache back, and I had to descend. So that was the end of my summit story. But my trek leader, who was back after, evacuating that guy, he also started. Even he got AMS, and 2 other people also got AMS. So finally, only 2 of them ended up summiting. But, when I came back, this whole new appreciation for a lot of small things which I did not even care about, like, just the availability of hot water. It is such a big thing. Like when I came back, to a sea level, I was like, okay, one glass of hot water, I was like being so grateful for it. Or even, the availability of sunlight for that matter. Like, when you're in cold or when you're just having constant rains, I think that also like we don't appreciate. So for me, that was a life-changing thing. And I think that, appreciating small things or being grateful for the things that we have is something that has come to me because of that one incident. And I think on most day, when we all have good days, we don't need anything to get through. But I think during our bad days, even the smallest of things, the smallest of things, just conscious remembering of what we have and what we should be grateful for. I think these things are just enough to get you through the day. So I think that is also where I would like to highlight the point that Sir had told, which is enjoy your life and whatever. So you might not have this enlightenment during the trek or whatever. It could be just your day-to-day stuff, and it's what you feel is worth living for. Just do that. You need not go to like high peaks or like whatever, do some crazy skiing activities or something. It just could be your day-to-day activities. But I think it's important to really enjoy what you're doing and to really appreciate the small things, because they are the things that will help you get through. And the mental health part and things that you talk about, I think it starts at being able to appreciate the small things, being grateful for the small things. So yeah, that's my story, and thank you so much. If there's any questions, I did. So after 2019, I did like 4 more treks. I'm going on 1 more next month. Yeah. Thank you. Huh? So I didn't go anything to that high altitude, because I think with altitude sickness and stuff like that, no matter how much you're prepared, you can never be prepared for that. Okay, so even like people who attempt all these big 8,000-meter peaks, they train like crazy, with endurance and everything. But things can anytime go out of hand, and you can never be prepared for it. But I do plan to do Stoke again, because that's the only thing which I'm not finished. So it's unfinished business, which I plan to finish sometime. But yeah, no that high altitudes, but I've done something around 16, 15 kind of.
Then you realize that, you think that this comfort zone gives you more happiness. But when you step out of the comfort zone, you get much more enjoyment, right?
Yeah. I didn't enjoy it there, but that time, but I do now. At that time, I was just like, why did I even come here? Why do I do these kind of things and, stuff like that? But I think I'm really able to appreciate where I'm standing right now. Yeah.
So what I wanted to say is very good gripping storytelling. I was like really like what is happening next. But one thing I actually wanted to ask Sukumar sir also this, saying that you are in a different environment for so many days, or in a high pressure environment like within a submarine, or you said you do not have enough oxygen. So that time when you got a headache and you were feeling nauseating, so the minute you descend, you naturally start feeling better, or you have to wait for some time to again acclimatize to the newer environment? How is that?
I mean, depends on what the lower altitude is. So, like, if you're like from 16,000, if I'm descending 14,000 also, I'll start feeling a little better. But still, that is an area of thin air. So, it'll take time, okay, eventually. But given the fact that we were all fine until 16,000, it means our body was working well until then. And probably pushing from that altitude to higher was, not so easy on the body. And also that day where the weather was bad, we barely slept, because from morning to evening we were training, and then evening we started at 10:30, so barely any sleep and no proper food and stuff. So it could be a combination of factors. But to answer your question, yes, when you start descending down, you immediately start feeling a little better, and to be completely fine, you need to descend down to further lower altitudes, and then you're like, yeah, but you do feel it.
Nitrogen absorbing into your bloodstream. So when you come up, the blood starts leaving that oxygen, and it surfaces in the bends. That's why it's called bends. That physical what you go through is called bends. So, but luckily inside the submarine, the water pressure is the outside of the submarine, not inside. But you are in the normal atmosphere, so it doesn't affect you. But only your escape process in case of emergencies. At that time you have to take rest, because every 10 meters of water gives you 1 kg of pressure on you. So if you are going to 200 meters, it is 20 kg plus. So you have to come through a certain stage, wait there, so that the nitrogen gets out of your bloodstream, then go to the next level, again wait for some time, and that's how you do it. Otherwise, it's quick way to death, nothing else. Yeah.
Why do you trek at night and summit in the morning? I mean, why is it done that way? Why not the other way around?
Yeah, so the summit attempt, it's mostly through the snow, and during the night times, the snow is a little hard or it's stiff. And the moment you go out in the morning, the sun comes out, right? So it starts to melt, and it's very difficult. Even with the equipment and stuff, it's very difficult to trek on soft snow.
Um, so one thing you said that struck me was you researched a lot before doing the trek. And you came across more negative things than obviously the positive. Right. So what? So that didn't like stop you from doing this. So my question is, what was so much interesting about this journey that the real life experiences of people who've already done what you really want to do isn't that great. So what was that? Yeah.
I think that's a very good question. Okay, I think at every point of time I've asked myself this question, and to really answer that question, I think the benefits of doing this for me outweighs all the risks and stuff. Because if you fall into something or if you're gonna die anyway. Okay, but if you do something and you achieve it, that is the satisfaction of that. I think is unmatched. Okay, so for me, I think mentally and even personally as a person, right, the kind of people that you meet or people who live at such altitudes, when you interact with them and things that you learn from them, and the moment you reach the top and you see the world from there and you just forget all of your problems momentarily, even that just 1 or 2 minutes of that thing, that has a great impact. At least for me, that moment stays with me, and it's not just a summit, the entire thing, the things that you pick from there, things that I learn, from the people that I meet. I think that for me has a big impact on the way I lead my life on an everyday basis. It's not my work, it's not my thing. And the kind of discipline that it brings, like it's not that I today I decide I'm gonna go on a trek and I'm set out on the journey. I have to prepare for it like throughout the year. And uh, if I'm going for a trek in like August, I'm training for it at least 5 to 6 months before. And there's a daily training routine, but for a trek it's a different kind of routine also. So for me, the discipline, the mental, benefits that it has, it far like outweighs that.
Oh, like what about your family? Like, no, I'm pretty sure they're not like, yay, another trek that you're going on. I mean, because there's so many risks that, yeah. So how is
So
that?
I think for the most treks, like I'm out of network for at least 7 8 days, like absolutely no network. But I think the first trek was the deal breaker. Okay, so the first time I did this, I think that is when the conditioning kind of came in. But also it's constant assurances that hey, like that if something happens, I'm gonna descend down, and making them aware that these things can happen and how I plan to handle them in case they happen. So even the story about Stoke is something I was not sure if I should be telling this because it's very traumatic, like for a family to if I tell my mom I wanted to call you one time and she'll start crying, obviously, right? So it's probably that but I did tell her the story in detail about what happened and what I felt and stuff like that, which is also important and it's also the parent how they take it. So I think for me that way I was lucky that my mom takes it in a good way, but obviously she's stressed out and stuff. And the moment I get network, I sometimes we are lucky to get like some bits of network, and that time I do make a call and I tell her that I'm all right and stuff. So wherever possible, I do it. But otherwise, it's what the conditioning or the kind of assurances that you give them beforehand.
Many a times people think extreme measures the youngsters take up, for certain failures in life and all that. So what we learn, there is a saying when I said 6 months of Naval Academy, you go through the worst part and all, no? Why you don't give up is, you have seen the worst part, what is the next? That curiosity keeps you going. So even the youngsters who feel that no, I have seen the worst, let me end the journey or something. No, why should somebody do it? Because you have already gone through that. You are alive now. So what is stopping you from going ahead? That should be the spirit with everyone.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Like, knowing when to stop. Because, given the age and the energy that, we guys have, it's like, you're like, okay, fine, it's just a headache. No, let's just push it for some 1 hour or something, and anyways, I'm going to come down. So I think that's a very bad thing because I also had that thought like, okay, fine, one or two, couple more hours I'll endure it, and it's a bad thing. It's a sure shot way to death. So take that informed call, and I think like try to be aware of what is good for you and what does not work for you. So it's good to know where to stop.
Ma'am, I have a question. How cold does it get during the trek? I was like,
It depends again what season you're doing. So Stoke as such, I was not doing during off season or something. I was doing proper season. But if you go on winter treks, like the least temperatures I have seen is minus 22, which is like very 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 cold. Yeah. So like I had this bottle. Just tell you, I was also very amazed. Okay, I had this bottle of water, it's plastic and stuff. And next morning, the bottle also is frozen. I dropped it from my hand. Everything broke into pieces. The water inside it and the bottle itself was into pieces because it was that frozen. So minus 22 was the least, but in Stoke it was not too bad. It was around minus single digit minus. It's not too bad.
I actually have two questions. Have you been to a trek after that, or was that your last one so far?
I have been to a trek. I have been to multiple treks after that. So like around 4-5 treks I did.
And so, did your parents' attitude change after you went for another trek? Because you would have told them about the whole story, right? About your near-death experience. So, was there their experience, like, did that change the way they allowed you to go or anything
Not
related?
really, I think, because but every time there is that fear. Okay, that the fear starts like a month before I go. Like there's constant sleeplessness and stuff like that. What is gonna happen? Is something gonna happen? Is she gonna die? Stuff like that. That I think is naturally there, and that's also there with me. Okay, so in this is after my other trek, I like had a very bad episode of panic attacks and stuff like that. This was my second trek. Okay, in the first trek, actually, I felt very claustrophobic and stuff inside tent. This is the first experience. And from that, before I went on second trek, I got bad memories of that, and I had like very bad episode of panic attacks even before I went on the trek. So for me, that has stayed as a trauma. Okay, like before I go on every trek, I get bad memories of that. So I'm sure there's something which I'm sure like my family also gets, but probably they are not willing to share just to push that fear onto you. But yeah, I think like because you're used to it now and they know that I'm gonna do this. I do this like not very regular. I do it like once or twice in a year. I go on a high altitude trek. So that time, yeah, those months are a little rough.
So, I had a question, and first of all, thank you for sharing your experience. I think one part of Vidya's life we haven't looked at is her introduction. She said she is a software developer. She has a full-time job, and she does this also. It's not that she does this full-time. So, how do you sort of make time for it, given your busy
If I
schedule?
were to be really honest, I think I kind of measure. Okay, there is like that is what inspires me. Okay, like the first few treks when I did them, they were like I'm going to quit my job. This is what I need to do full time and stuff like that. But I think somewhere over the last few years, I've tried to find a balance. Okay, and for me, it is everything that is basically keeping a balance. I think without the work and just doing the trek or just doing my physical things would also make my life a little off balance. But the work is also there, and it's also what do you say? It's at work also they know that she does this, and during that time they are also ready with all the things. So work is not that much of a pressure or something like that. So I think the to answer your question, there is a balance. And for me, looking forward to the trek is what keeps me motivated, and that is what keeps me going even at work or otherwise. Yeah.
Ma'am, I had one doubt. Like 2 years before I went to Kashi, it was around 1-2 degrees. That time while eating, my full hands were frozen. So I was eating like robot. Like you went to Ladakh for trekking around minus 20 degree. So were your parts not frozen?
So again, like so when you're doing this on a regular basis, you're equipped, right? So I do have all the I have down jackets, I have gloves, I have thermals, so things that I wear to keep myself warm. So during those times, I think it's like those things help. But I like I don't know if you were not equipped. Like, did you not have jackets?
No, I had
Okay, so
sweaters and
whatever
all.
sweaters you wear here, obviously they're not enough to endure, lower temperatures. But when we go on such treks and when we are expecting such temperatures, we do carry like really like minus 15-degree jackets or and additional things to keep you warm. And again, like all the things to cover your ears, those really thick caps and woolen what do you say, gloves and things like that. So I've never had that experience. Just one experience of nosebleed multiple times on a trek. As I go higher in altitude, I have this issue with the nosebleed. My nose starts bleeding out of because I'm breathing in thin air, and yeah, so that's just that.
No, with those equipments, can you walk normally and
So
all?
again, the trekking gear that you would have, they are meant for such things. So they are called active wear. So you wear it while you're trekking as well. Obviously, depending on and when you're trekking, your body generates heat, right? So you would naturally not need additional things. It's only when your body is not moving is when you need to keep yourself warm. But when you're moving, your body generates heat, and you should feel okay.
I had one question. You told that you were trekking, and trekking is different from climbing.
Yes.
What is the difference? I
So
didn't get.
climbing, to give you the real difference, people who climb, they do not really care about the entire thing. Okay, for them the summit is the big prize. Okay, and when I say that, like, okay, I'll give you an example of a friend who is into climbing, who's a climber. So for him, I think so he was doing this peak in Ladakh again last year, and in between he fell sick. Okay, he fell sick, so he descended to lower altitude, and I think there was an alternative path to reach to somewhere below the summit, from where he could attempt just the summit. So for him, that entire 3-4 days extra, it did not matter. He went back down, he became fine, and he came only for the summit bid. Okay, so he took the alternative route and all these things. But for trekkers in general, for us, like, we are looking for landscapes and stuff like that. For climbers, it's mostly that snow peak or whatever. They are full trained with all the equipment. If it's a vertical wall, I would naturally back out of it. Okay, if it's a vertical wall, I'm not even doing this. I'm not interested in climbing and killing myself. But for a climber, that would be the big prize. So he would be trained with all his, snow boots, crampons, ice axes, ropes, everything, and he would probably go that last tip. So climbers usually are more technical. They go into more technical sections as compared to trekkers. But for trekkers, it's mostly the entire thing, which.
Thank you so much, Vidya, for sharing your experience. We come to the end of Unconference now. I know all of you have joined us since early in the morning. You've heard a lot of stories, a lot of experience. We look forward to have you join us for the next iteration of Unconference also. Do inform your friends because again, you are the ambassadors. You have now experienced what it's like to face your fears, come forward, express your opinions. So it is you who are supposed to be an inspiration to your friends. So thank you so much for joining in once again. On behalf of the UVCE Graduates Association, we thank all of you for coming. It's the fourth Saturday, it's the summer, but still you all came. That's wonderful. It's a great initiative. Big round of applause for all of you.